G'day everyone, Tim from the vMix here. Today we're going to take a quick look at how you can bring in live data using the data sources option in vMix. Now each week we do a petrol price live stream of the local petrol price sign that we can see out of our window. Why? Why not? We like to include some weather information on the stream and display it in the top corner up here. Now it's pulling in live temperature information as well as displaying an icon for the current weather conditions. As you can see, it is currently 26 and sunny. Now there are plenty of reasons to bring in live data to a production, so this might inspire you to start adding your own live data into your production. Now I'm going to jump over to my work PC now to show you the process. And if you're not quite sure what I'm talking about, you might think of it as data, live data sources. All right, here I am now in my work PC, or at least using my work PC to bring in my two NDI cameras of the petrol price sign. I want to make this production a little bit more exciting with some live weather information. Firstly, I need to work out how I'm going to get live weather information into my production. So I'm going to have to find a source for it. I've gone ahead and signed up to weatherapi.com, which is a service that allows you to bring in live and historical weather data to things like applications and websites. I'm using the free tier at the moment just to show you how it all works, but they have different pricing structures depending on how many API calls and information that you might require from them. There are plenty of APIs on the World Wide Web that will offer different information to you, as well as different pricing structures and interfaces, but this is what I'm going to show you as an example today. So I've already signed up for an account, which will give me an API key. Now this is really important because I need to authenticate with the API service in order for them to give me back the data that I've asked for. So I'm going to use this API key here, I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to use that to generate the XML file that I can use in vMix. Now each interface for the API is going to be different. This one has a thing called API response fields, which is pretty handy so I can specify the exact content that I want from them. For example,
With vMix, you can take your audio and send different parts or mixes of it just about anywhere you can think of. You can send a specific audio mix to your primary stream, a different language to a secondary stream, another mix to your front of house speakers, and something else to your talent or a caller. You can also output and record audio with up to 16 individual channels, which is very handy for post-production editing. To do all this and more, we'll be looking at, or rather listening to, audio buses. Hey there, I'm Heath from vMix. If this is your first time watching a vMix video, welcome. We have a lot of training videos and this one assumes you know your way around vMix reasonably well. So if you start to struggle, take a look at one of the intro videos that I've linked in the description. You can also download our top tier vMix Pro trial that you can use without any limits or watermarks for 60 days for free. vMix comes in a few varieties from Basic HD right up to Pro and Max depending on your needs. But we've included the full range of audio buses in every edition, so this is relevant to anyone using vMix that needs greater control over their audio. The buses are all noted in the settings of vMix under the Audio Output section. Here we can see that there are buses A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Now, there are many ways to think about and use audio buses, but here are two key ways to think about them. One, every audio bus is a different audio mix with a different destination. For example, we could set our stream to use a specific mix using our master bus, while our talent or show host could listen to a specific audio mix on bus A, and a caller into the show might only need to hear the talent's microphone, so we could send them that alone on bus B. The second way of thinking about audio buses is that it allows you to send out or record a bunch of different audio mixes in a multi-channel format, allowing you to edit and adjust the audio of each mix outside of vMix rather than just having one stereo mix with everything together. This is often handy in post-production if you want to adjust audio for certain aspects of your recording without affecting the rest of the audio. Now, if any of this isn't making sense yet, don't worry. We'll work through both right now. Audio buses are dedicated stereo audio channels, which means for every bus, you have a left and right channel. As I briefly showed you before, in vMix there are 7 dedicated buses, A through G, and then there's the master bus, which makes for 8 buses. Now, because each of these buses is a stereo bus with a left and right channel, this means we have 16 channels of audio available to use in vMix. This is what the buses look like in our audio mixer output section. Now you might have just said, wait, I don't have those in my version of vMix. Well, that's probably because they aren't enabled by default. And the reason for that is because they take up precious real estate in the interface if they aren't needed for your production. So your audio mixer outputs might look a little bit more like this with just the master output showing. So let's change that and enable some buses. As a first step, we'll go to the settings. And now we'll click on audio outputs. And here we can see those buses are set to none. If we set the first 4 to enabled, then click OK and accept the restart of vMix. Once we restart, they will appear in our audio mixer. As a special note, you must accept the restart of vMix for audio output changes to work. If you don't, the changes will not be applied and things won't work correctly for you. Okay, we now have some new audio buses in our audio mixer output, A, B, C, and D. We'll now need some inputs with audio that we can manage using our newly available audio buses. Here are a few I prepared earlier for a news program that we want to live stream. Let's imagine I'm producing the news program, so I have my camera with my microphone embedded. This allows me to direct the talent. I also have a news anchor's camera with embedded audio, a news intro video, a news outro video, and some soft music to run under the show. And finally, a field reporter named Bob. Bob's coming in on a vMix call. If you're not familiar with the vMix call feature, it allows you to bring up to 8 live callers into your production depending on the version of vMix you're using. You can check out our video about vMix call in the description. Alright, in this scenario, I'll list 3 destinations where we might want to send a unique mix of audio. First, we have the main show audio that we want to live stream and probably record as well. We'll want the audio mix to include our anchor, the 2 videos, and the music underlay, as well as Bob. So assigning these to the master bus is a good idea. What we don't want to hear in the master mix is my audio because I'm the producer calling out the directions to the talent, but I'm not part of the finished product. So we'll remove my audio from the master channel by clicking on the M button right here so that it turns off. Next, we have the audio we want to send to our news anchor. He might want to hear the intro and outro audio as prompts for when he's live. So we can assign these to bus A by clicking here and here. We'll also want to add my audio so that I can talk to him as the producer. So I'll click there. And last but not least, we'll add Bob. Finally, let's decide what audio we want to send Bob. Bob doesn't need to hear the intro and outro audio, but he will need to hear our news anchor, and he also needs to hear me as the producer. So we'll pop these 2 audio inputs onto a bus for Bob. Now, imagine that I was already using bus B for something else. So that would mean the next bus available for Bob is bus C. But now you might be asking, how do I add things to bus C? Only M, A, and B are showing. Well, all you need to do is right-click on any of the other buses and you'll see all of your other enabled buses there, and you can tick and untick them. So once again, we'll right-click on a bus of our anchor's audio input and tick C. Then we'll right-click a bus on my audio input and tick C as well. And there we go. We've now created 3 different audio mixes and assigned them to the master, bus A, and bus C. The master for our stream and recording, bus A for our anchor to hear, and bus C for Bob to hear. Actually, while we're here, in the audio mixer, there's also a button labeled S for every audio source. S stands for solo. And so if we click on one of these, we can solo just that bus or audio source. And this allows us to check that the audio sounds as we expect. Additionally, it's possible to send a bus to the master channel. The main reason why you might do this is if you have a few audio sources that you want to control the volume for together on a single bus before they are fed to the master for your stream or your recording. Now, there is one special note I'll add for whenever you send a bus to master. If you have any vMix callers that are listening on your master channel, they will not hear any buses you have routed to master. So just keep that in mind. So now that we have all of our audio buses set up, it's time to route them to the right destinations. For the master bus, this is going to our stream and our recording. So here under the stream settings, we can click on the quality settings and make sure that our audio channels are set to master. and then we can click save, and then save and close. And the same goes in the recording settings. We go to the audio drop-down list and set this to master if it isn't already. Be sure to click OK to save these settings. Next, if we want to send audio to our news anchor, we can go back to the vMix settings, click on Audio Outputs again, and rather than just having bus A enabled, instead we can select a connected audio device, such as a monitor with speakers or a USB audio interface, for example. For this video, I'll go out to a monitor with speakers and I'll click OK. And now I'll accept that restart again. And finally, for Bob, because he's a vMix caller, we just need to right-click his input and set the audio source there to bus C. And that's that. We've now routed all of our input audio to our buses, and we've routed the bus audio out to destinations. So our stream and recording has the master audio, our anchor has his mix, and Bob has his mix. I'm sure there's plenty of other mixes that you might want to put on different buses, and these will depend on the type of production you're running. You might want to set up a separate bus that contains all audio sources, including the producer's microphone for teaching and training purposes. Or you might want to set up a bus for a secondary language stream. In fact, we have a video that goes through sending different audio to multiple streams that covers this scenario, so I've popped that in the description. Next up, let's see how to create a multi-channel audio output that we can record or send out of vMix. Doing this can be useful if you need your audio separated for post-editing in programs like Adobe Premiere Pro. If we go to the recording settings and back under the audio drop-down, you'll see that you can pick multiple buses to be included in your recording. So let's return to my news program example and rewind it back to where we started. Here are a few I prepared earlier, but this time, let's imagine we're recording our news program so that we can make some post-recording edits before publishing it to our streaming provider. In this scenario, we might